Good morning. Welcome back and thanks for joining me. It's Judy from Thistledew Creations. And this morning, while I was having my morning coffee, I was emptying some tea bags that had been drying beside the kitchen sink. And when I went to put them away, I realized my tea bag box is getting kind of full. So I thought I would prep some playing cards for making altered playing cards. And I thought it would be a good time to come up with a challenge for my Thistledewers to do some altered playing cards, and also to instigate the idea of a swap for some playing cards. So I have quite a collection. I do have a video where I show my collection, and I might have added one or two different ones since I did the video. So you can all go and see what I have. And if we want to do swaps for, say, a dozen cards, that's something that you should be able to fit in an envelope with a stamp. And so if you wanted to choose a dozen out of my collection and put together a dozen out of your collection for me, I would be interested in swapping, and many of the rest of us might be as well. So I just thought I would put that out there at the beginning of the video so that if anyone is interested, we can do a swap for a dozen playing cards, or we can do a swap for completed altered playing cards. I usually will include at least one altered playing card in with any swap that I do. So the first step that I normally do, and I've got an assortment here. I think some of these were maybe sent to me. The lambs ones I use for my washi tape sometimes. So I'm going to set those aside. But I've got an assortment here, probably mostly from swaps. I don't think these are from my own collection. So you may have been the one that sent these to me. I don't know who did. I can't remember. But I thought I would just start by putting some tea bag on them. Now, some people do, and I did the first time I made them, give them a light sanding. So if they're very glossy, then you can just give them a very light sanding with an emery board. It just gives the glue something to grab onto if you take off some of that gloss. And some of them are glossier than others. And you just need to rough it up. And some of these are old, so they don't really need it, but I tend to put the tea bag on the face side, not on the backs of them. Sometimes I don't do anything to the backs. If it has a pretty picture like this, I may not do anything at all. But something like this where it says Hawaii, I might cover that up. Just depends on my mood at the time. That's how I craft, that's how I roll. So just giving these a little bit of a rough up. Not trying to erase the picture or anything, just roughing it up so that the tea bag will stick easier. And the tea bag gives it texture, makes it easier for you to glue on the collage elements if you're going to collage on them, which is what I tend to do. It makes it look more vintage, gives it an interesting texture. Is the main thing. That one feels like it's almost plastic. These ones are so old that I don't feel like they need roughing up. Look at the color on that one. I don't think I've antiqued that. I think that's just natural aging. So I think I'm going to go ahead and do this whole bunch. And then I'll have some to start swapping with. But I really would like to get my Thistledew Creations Facebook group interacting a little bit more. Running a group is new to me, so I've just been kind of posting every day, not really even saying much about my posts, just sharing, which is fine. But I would like to do some swapping with friends that I'm making on Facebook. A few friends that I've made over the last couple of years have been really great for swapping. But some of us are shy to get started, so I thought I would extend the offer. And this is an easy one to do. Most people have playing cards, and it's easy to get them very cheap at the thrift stores. You can get a deck of cards for under $1 a lot of the times. So it's a very inexpensive craft supply. And most of us have some memories of playing cards when we were kids, whether it's Old Maid or Fish or Crazy Eights. We played a lot. I used to play a lot of solitaire too. Regular solitaire and Kings in the Corner solitaire. So that's the light sanding done. And now what I'll do is I will, there's a clear one, dodge a draw, cranium. So then it's just a matter of gluing down some tea bag onto it. Get rid of that name off of there. So I think I can get 2 on each card. And I do save these. I think they would make cute little tags with an eyelet through them. Dangles. I know my tacky glue is about to run out, so I have one on standby here. So I think what I'm going to do is my usual way that I would do it is glue stick all over. And then tacky glue just around the edges. Just so it's not going to lift up. And I kind of just clean off the cap in the middle. And like I said, I'm going to try to get 2 per tea bag. And some people wouldn't even cover up that dog, but I'm not too worried about it. Nice soft glue stick is good for this. You get a fair bit on there and it embeds right into the paper of the tea bag. It's not quite completely covering. Well, I guess it is. It's very close to not covering. I went a little bit off the edge up here, so it's not covering down here, but that's okay. So I'll let those dry. I keep doing more and more. I want to use up some of these big tea bags. I try to prep them to this point when I take the tea leaves out. Some of them still have some tea leaves attached, but that's okay too. This one's really nicely aged. I think it's quite vintage. It's also paper on the face makes it possible to do some stamping, which I think I will do today. Remember those ones. A pretty Japanese lady. So if you haven't got all of your playing cards in one place, find yourself a little box to put them in. I've got mine in a Trivial Pursuit card box. That's what I've got a bunch of them in. And then my main collection is in sewing machine drawers. You know, the old vintage sewing machines with the wooden, they usually had 4 wooden drawers, 2 on each side, or sometimes 3 on each side. I have stacks of those, 2 high, and I keep all my playing cards in them. Playing cards, and then also like flashcards and things like that that I don't even use, but that's another thing I've got to learn to get out and start using. Let's just see if we can do 2 at a time here. I think we can. I think we can. I'm going to end up with gluey fingers today, but at least I'm using the white glue, not the 3-in-1. My fingernails will be safe. I might end up using some 3-in-1 later. Put some things on. If I do buttons or anything plastic or metal, I always use the 3-in-1. And that white glue just gives you a few moments to reposition if you need to. It's the other good reason for using it as well as the glue stick. Hard to get them to sit still. I'm going to end up with a lot of little pieces. So those will go into, I've got a box in my stack that has some coffee dyed paper towel and stuff like that, like fibrous papers like this. So it'll go right into there for collage. I like these ones that have beer and wine recipes and trivia. I bought them for stocking stuffers years ago for the beer ones, because there was beer dessert recipes and regular main dish recipes. And it's okay if there's a little bit of tea leaves still attached. It adds a lot of texture. There's some tea leaves under that one, under the 4. This is my warm-up today. Brian was asking me while I was having my coffee this morning, what are you going to make today? I said, I don't really know yet. I might just putter first and see where it takes me. And so then I started deconstructing the tea bags, and I thought, oh, this is what I should start with. So there we are. And I was looking at some photos yesterday of some that I made, I guess last year. A whole series of maybe 20 that I made that were all very, very similar. There's no 2 the same, but they're all with the same elements. I thought it's time to make some new ones, and I could maybe, well, I don't know what theme I'm going to do or if it will be a theme. I'm going to play with a couple of boxes of small papers that I pulled aside here. And then I've always got my drawers in front of me with lots of different ephemera bits in them. I've got my setup pretty good where most things that I would want are within reach. So when you get in the groove and you get making a video especially, you don't want to be running into the other room to grab something. It slows down your mojo. Switch sides here. It's getting a little sticky over there. This one has camping tips. So it says black bear tracks. The toe pads form an arc. There are no or very light claw imprints. AFP. I don't know what that is. Actually, I don't always use the tea bags on the playing cards. The first batch that I did, I just, I did a method that I saw on YouTube where you take just book page and glue stick and you glue it down to the playing card and let it dry. It can be a piece bigger than the playing card. And then when it's dry, you grab the edges that are overhanging the card and you just pull, and whatever stays on glued down stays, and whatever comes loose you take off. And then you've got very random coverage, which is sometimes hard to do on purpose, like when you're trying to make it look random. I'll do a couple like that just to show you what I mean, since I mentioned it. So these ones I might tear them off. We can try it, but I'm going to grab some book page here and show you the other method. So you might take like a dictionary page like this and just glue stick, because you don't really want it to stick everywhere. And I don't even put glue everywhere. And then just glue that down. So I'm just taking and doing a couple of swipes of the glue stick. So I didn't get it all around the edges. The trick is to let that get good and dry. So there I can get 3 across. I'll grab another sheet of this and we'll do a couple more. And I'm pretty sure I got this book page in a swap. It is an English dictionary, it looks like. I had 2 pages, so that settles it. I'm doing these 3. So you can see I'm not putting glue everywhere on these ones. I'm just kind of doing a couple of swipes. sure how well this will stick. Okay, so that's our first step done. I'm going to set these ones on the bottom to really get good and dry. Let's see how we will deal with these ones. So I'm probably still going to need this. I'm just going to turn it over. Not as pretty on this side, but... So that's probably all I need the tea bags for this time around. I might save some of these loose tabs out. I might use those in my collages, just to use some of them up. And then I also, when I have a regular tea bag that's not a folded one, I'll save these little edges too for collage where I tear them open. That's why I don't use scissors to open them, because I want those little torn pieces for collaging. Okay. Some of the glue off. Let me grab my little sprayer. So then I usually pick some sort of a focal point, usually in the form of a die cut or a sticker. I do like windows and things like that, architectural elements. Got some bicycles here. Actually, I've got a bunch of stickers that Joyce Clark gave me, and it's high time I dug into them. So the bicycles could be a series. I'm not gonna do Halloween just yet. Those are a possibility. These are stickers. Kind of too big. I like those sort of metallic looking ones. They add a lot of texture. So I might use some of those. I could do a cat series. I could do a musical series. Oh, and jars. I think I want to save my jars and bottles for ATCs. So the only difference between an ATC and an APC, artist playing card, is that the artist playing card is on a card, a playing card, and artist trading card is any kind of cardstock. Playing cards aren't always ATC size, as you can see here. This one's smaller, this one's narrower. But regulation cards are, like the ones they use in casinos, are generally ATC size. So they're 2.5. That one's only 2 1/4. So this is like, I think, a dollar store one. I do have one here that is from a casino, and you can see the difference. Another 1/4 inch on the side. So when you're picking up your cards and you're gonna list them or talk about them, it's an altered playing card. But if it's regulation size, you can also call it an artist trading card. Now, because these are, I don't know if I can rip it. Yeah, I'm gonna rip them so that I get that rough edge, because these are narrow. And what you can also do if you want to clean up that edge is you can take your emery board and you can file it off so that you get it right on the edge. If you're not good at trimming, that's an alternative way for you to get that completely flush with the edge. So your emery board is definitely a tool that you'll use when you do this. I buy my emery boards nowadays from Temu, but they have them at the dollar store in multi-packs even. This is a really good quality one, I think. I got a 6-pack of them or something like that for a couple bucks. I got them because they were pretty. So there, that one's done, and it's not quite dry yet. So this is a good thing to, you know, do them in batches. And by the time you're done going through them all, the first ones will be dry, kind of thing. I'm just going to start a little pile of my scraps over here. And you'll want to do this away from you. You don't want to go like from the back forward. You want to go from the front and away from your body. That's how I do it anyway, away from me. You don't really do a back and forth motion because it would pull it up. Actually, a girl that I worked with one time told me that when you're filing your nails, you shouldn't do a back and forth motion. You should do it in one direction, and more pushing down than pulling up. You can go back. Some people go back and forth, and you're supposed to just go in one direction when you file. It's hard on your nails. It creates roughness that you don't necessarily see or feel. And it weakens them. So I've always remembered that and try to do it that way. So these are good for collage or for adding texture to things. So I do save them. Put them in my tray with my other little scraps like that are similar kinds of fat fibers. Sometimes you just need a little rough edge somewhere for something. Like that one's probably too small, but depending on how you're fitting them onto the card. We'll have these leftover ends. They're definitely useful for clusters and collages, or even just to tone something down if it's too bright. It's like you're applying tea dye right over top. So this section here I would save for sure. Those smaller pieces, maybe not. It does get to the point of ridiculousness after a while. Of course, you can just also glue these around onto the back side as well. You don't have to take them off. If you're going to collage on the back as well as the front, then you can just wrap it around. Let's do one like that. Let's do the octopus one like that. So what you might do there is just run a strip of glue there and have that go over the edge. And that works too. Looking for ways to prevent yourself from making more scraps, then that would be what you would do. Use it up. So on this one, again, you could do all four sides that way. Oops. Sometimes when I'm designing these, I'll think about the subject matter that's on the decorative side of the card. Sometimes not. As a designer, I think of these things, try to make it have a theme. Some tea bags might be a little bit stronger than others. Some might be real quick to disintegrate on you with the glue. Just depends. Now that one I don't think I want to fold around because that's a really pretty card. I don't really want to muck that up. So I'll take that one off. When they start to get drier, you can pull on them a little bit more to separate them. Get that one lined up really well. This one I think I will wrap around. There's not much going on the back, just an all over pattern, so I might decorate that one a little more. Of course, you can just leave those edges scruffy too if you want to. You don't have to trim it off. Like that's a nice even, kind of like a fringy look. I might leave it. I don't think I want to cover that dolly, so I'm gonna take this edge off. Yeah, I'm going to leave that fringy bit. Just for some variation. That one has like a neat 1970s boho look to it. Sometimes you can, when it gets really dry, you can also just tear it with your fingers. See? And give yourself a torn edge. Let's see here. That's a nice fringy edge. Doesn't even matter if you take some off of where you were gluing it onto, depending on how scruffy you want it, or you're willing to let it be. Sometimes it's not about what you want, what you're willing to let the project become. Take away the control and let the little idiosyncrasies of crafting take over and see where it takes you. I know that's hard for some people to do. It can be very freeing. If you're just the instrument, you're just another craft supply in the mix. Just like the weather and the temperature and the humidity make a difference to how your craft turns out, so does your mood and your willingness to let go. Okay, I'm definitely keeping these bigger pieces, but these smaller ones are going to be near impossible to glue down, so they're going to go. At some point you have to have a cutoff, right? Okay, so let's decorate now. I'm going to end up with a lot of things out on the desk, I think. So I've got some keys and keyhole stickers, and I really do like these. They have like the gemstones on them. I have some papers that I'm seeing from here that will work with them. So let's see what we can use these for. So with the grapes, I'm thinking this keyhole, and I've got these papers which have like gems. I like to leave the playing card symbol exposed. I think I'd like some purple paper with this. So I'm going to do kind of like a little bit of a strip collage. And then a little bit of music, I think, because this is a wine theme. So I think of music, I think of relaxing with some wine and a good tunes. So I do want to ink. I know that's going to slow us down, but sometimes you just got to ink. Get my tacky glue going here. I'm not going to bother with both glues on something this small. I had that laying down. I should never do that. This is just about done, this bottle. I'll finish it today, I think. So the heart stays exposed. A little piece of purple. I should have inked a bunch of papers last night. This is just some music that I printed. The paper is fairly flimsy. I was just experimenting with different things in the printer, and this paper was really too thin. Some that I got at a thrift store, I think. Put that up a little bit where I can see it. Then I put my sticker on. This is fairly sticky, so I'm just going to stick it down. There. And then I've got some postage stamps. I have some tiny ones. I do. Some tiny postage stamp stickers. There's a pinkish one. Actually, there's one with a lady in a old-fashioned dress. Let me keep those handy. Well, they are handy. They're right in front of me. So we can call that done. Ink around the edges. Sometimes I might want to ink this one a little bit darker before I'm really happy with it. So just a few little elements, and you don't even have to do anything over here, but maybe what I'll do is add a little tab, one of these little tabs from the tea bags. glue that down. Kind of up in this corner. And what have I got? I've got a bunch of labels too. And what I've got for small labels. This one looks interesting. I think this is one that I made with stamps. Pretty sure. Yeah, I use my stamps in a catalog. Gotta do a video on that. So there I've got two kind of intersecting tabs, and then usually I like to put a third thing. So maybe like another, where's my flowers? Got some tiny flowers. Purple one might be good. And then maybe a little piece of bling in the middle of that. Bling is a tough one. I've got a lot of bling. Remember that I have the purple gem on the other side. So maybe just another little gem. A little pink heart or something. There. You still see the grapes. You don't see the whatever that label said, I can't even remember now. Wine history or something. And then this side you've got your little collage. So that's one. I'll set it up there for some inspiration for myself. Now the four of diamonds. And it's got a not a robin, what is it? Goldfinch. And a nice gold edge around it. So what would I want to put with that? Maybe the yellow butterfly. Or maybe a cat. Cats like birds. That's how my brain works. So I'm taking these out of the packages as I decide to use them. Probably leave them out and save the packages, because sometimes when we do swaps, we do ephemera swaps, and you can use these packages to put your cluster or whatever it is that you're swapping into, and you can create a new header for across the top that goes with the theme. I've done that. I did that last year for, I think it was a Christmas swap that we did. So let's see here. Cat with the ball of yarn. But we need something underneath that. So we've got rust and yellow and brown and gold. So let me just see what I've got for scraps. Can use a little bit of music while I've got it out. And then this box that I pulled out two boxes here actually, with some scraps and small pieces of paper. So this one has tiny little things that I've cut out of catalogs and magazines. And then this is just offcuts from when I've been making notebooks. And then there's some small, very small, suitable for this size of collage, little scraps of paper. Just gonna push this stuff over to the side here. So I said rust. So I could do maybe this red. There's a piece of that paper towel I was talking about. And there's a little piece of map. Oh, there's a good color. So let's see what we can do with these little bits. Okay, so I want to rough this up a bit. Don't want it so square. It's pretty glossy, so I'm giving it lots of glue. Put that down in the corner. And then I think these two circles, I'm not sure where these were from. They must have been punched out with my punch. I'll put this up in this corner. And I'm going to layer this one over top of it. These are not colors I would normally reach for. So I'm just letting the card dictate what colors I'm going to use. I'm not going to try to center that up. That would be too difficult. I'm going to go offset like that. And then I'm going to tear some edges on this. This is better, thicker paper. It's still one that I printed though. I'm covering the 4 down at the bottom, but I'm leaving the 1 up there. And I think now it's ready for the kitty cat. And see, I used those circles because of this ball of yarn is like a repeating theme on it now. I've got 3 circles and the cat's head's sort of in the middle of that circle. Ink it up. And then the back doesn't really need anything. It's just beautiful as it is. The front could maybe use some gold as a nod to the gold edging on the back. It has some metallicness to it, but not necessarily gold. So let's see what I have for gold. I know I have some sequins. And this might be something where I will come back and just spend time with my, I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and decorate a bunch, and then I'll come back and do some blinging later, because it's just, I want to get a bunch done so you can see the process. So there's 2. What have we got next? Queen of Diamonds, and this backside is some canoeing people. Looks like a group that was out canoeing, maybe scouts. They look like they have scout uniforms on. So what would go well with that? Well, actually, a dream catcher would go, or a feather. So, and the colors, kind of blues. We got a Canadian flag, grass. So for that, we could do, definitely we could do map. A little bit of Tim Hortons cup liner might be useful. There's a primitive map. There's a bit of wildflowers. And there's just some green out of a magazine. There's something that would be useful on this one. So we've got some trees, some stone wall. Hard to ink magazine paper without getting your fingers all inky. I like the stone texture. And then tear this. It's hard to tear a little bit off, but I think I can manage it. And I'll tear the top and bottom. Ink the torn edge. Look how gorgeous that turns out. And then give it some glue. I'm going to overlap that over the stone wall, just stagger it a bit. Put down a piece of this map. A map showing a river would be better, wouldn't it? Because of the canoe. I don't know if I have much map in here. I do have a neat little Indian head. Let me just go in my map drawer here for a sec. See if I've got a little bit of water. There's a piece that has some lakes in it. I think the inking is pretty critical on these little mini collages, as tedious as it sometimes seems. So we got map, wildflowers, and some brick. I think I am going to cut this little guy out. And this is a good example of cutting a circle. I kind of holding my scissors still, but pulling them to the side a bit, to the right, just so that I don't go too close to the black border. Move the paper, not the scissors. And it's not perfect, but once you ink it, it's okay that it's not perfect. See? So I'm going to put that up in the corner. I'll put it right up in this corner, I think. And then, what will I put with it here? I think this feather. The dream catcher is a nice size. Let's see if it fits. Yeah, it'll fit. So I'm not going to completely cover the map. I want to see those lakes. Give that some ink. And then on this side, I'm going to put some more map. On top of that tea bag that I folded over. And maybe like the word explorer or something like that could go on top. I'll dig that out later. I want to spend a half an hour looking for the word explorer. So that one's kind of horizontal on this side and vertical on this side. You end up with a lot of scraps laying around. It's a big cleanup after you do something like this, especially when you're doing a bunch of different themes. So now this one is Bear Smart, so it's kind of an outdoorsy theme as well. I'll do another map. This is just a little piece of like concrete or something, just out of a magazine. I pull out textures when I see them sometimes, because they make great collage fodder. And then I know this isn't a bear paw, but let's use this paw. And that maybe could have gone up a little higher. So this one is more boho vibe, but we've got reds and greens and browns, kind of a goldish look. So let's see what works with that. Something a little funky maybe. So we got a pattern there that could work for boho. There's some more pattern. To add, for some reason, I'm wanting to add some purple. Not sure if I'm going to find, yeah, there's some. A little bit of purple. You wouldn't think that that would need ink, but it really does deepen it when you have that brown around the edges of it. The difference. So purple, and then this is just a really colorful piece. It was actually shaped, but I'm going to take away that shape and ink it. Not sure what that was, a part of a pocket or something, of a printable. Oops. I'm going to put that up in this corner so it doesn't get buried too deep. And again, just tearing down one side and giving that some ink. Using the torn edge to overlap. And I think the owl kind of goes with like a 70s vibe. So we'll put the owl right there. And then I got the outline of the owl, which I don't think I'm going to use. And maybe a postage stamp. Just to fill in a little bit at the bottom. Backside doesn't need anything. So another one with wine, and this one has some red and yellow peppers and some tomatoes and some grapes. So definitely a foodish theme. I think I'll include a tea bag or tea tag. And I think I'm just going to use up some of these little pieces that are sitting here, just to show you that you really don't have to think about it too much. piece of map. Right down the edge. So these are just scraps that I just created. And I thought that they were just gonna mess up my desk for the rest of the day. So instead of letting them do that, I'm gonna just use them to make a little collage. A little strip of green off of the map. I tend to, when I do the little strip collages, I tend to zigzag the tops of them so that they're not all lined up. It's this little piece, that's a piece of that boho paper. And what will my focal point be on this one? What was the back side again? Oh, wine. A piece of some greenery. And ultimately, it doesn't matter, you know, what pieces you're using, it still comes out kind of cool. There's a little tiny rectangle that was cut with the ripple scissors. That down in the corner. And then what will my focal point be? Remembering that it's wine on the front. Maybe another one of these. No, maybe I'll use the violin. A guitar. No, a violin. Or whatever this instrument is. So just a few little strips that we're going to be going in the garbage. And then the wine facts, actually, I think that could use maybe a little bit of help. Maybe, maybe some of this, again, covering up the wine facts trivia wording. Yeah, I like that one. Surprised myself. This one's very pretty. Look at the back of that. That's a gorgeous card. So 9 of hearts. What do we got? We got pink, purple, blue, green, a little bit of yellow. So let's get another strip of that purple for sure. Ooh, it's flying. I'm just going to go let my kitty in. She's yelling at me. some treats. I'm gonna sit back down. Okay, back to this pretty floral one. So I do have some pink papers as well. Kind of like a notepad. Purple, pink. A little bit of this jewel paper. Maybe another little piece of map. This would be a good one for butterfly. Because butterflies are travelers, so that relates to the map. I think I need to start a sticker box. Let's see. I think this one. I always like to put them kind of off on an angle a little bit. Not always, but quite often. Okay, Japanese lady. First of all, I want to give this a little bit of ink on the back side just to make it look even older. Something special about this card. I'm not sure what it is. I know, kind of remember who gave it to me. She was new at junk journaling at the time. I remember that. And she didn't have much to trade, but she had these and they're beautiful. So, what do I want to put with that? It's pink. I definitely want to put tea thing with it because Japanese makes me think of tea for some reason, although this is not going to be a Japanese brand. Plant kindness and gather love, proverb. That's from traditional medicinal tea. So I think I'm going to use that as a little tab, even though to me it kind of goes the wrong way. And leave the little staple right in it. Ink both sides. I'm going to have that as a tab. I'd have it off to the side so that it's facing the right way. Doesn't have to stick out very far, just like that. But before I put it on, I want to see where my collage ends up. I do have some of this paper bag handle that I've unraveled. I'll use a piece of that. And then I've got some flowers here. I think I might have saved this for these ads, but these flowers are talking to me right at the moment. They look almost like, well, I think they're lilacs or something, but they're reminding me of wisteria, which reminds me of Japan for some reason. Really pretty, delicate flowers remind me of Japan. So that gives me some texture and some color. Maybe a little bit of this purple, even though the front side is pink. Maybe I will do pink. Just a little bit. So these 3 pieces might just be all I need here. I'm going to ink that too. At least those torn edges. That stuff is tough. I don't know what kind of paper that is, but it's hard to tear. Even the crinkles take the ink well. Give this a fair bit of glue because of the crinkles that are in it. I'm going to put this over on this side. And then the pink. And then the flowers. If you have a glue stick that you feel like you can trust, you could just use glue stick to glue them down. I don't really trust the glue stick 100%. And then this I'm going to glue both sides and stick it around the card. But I want that proverb so that you can read it, right? And then it just interferes with the lady just a little bit. I'll move it just a touch while I still can. And then something up in here, maybe another butterfly. This yellow one maybe. Well, she doesn't need anything else on that side. And now this is another colorful one. So let's see what I got here. Purple, pink, blues, and lots of orange and sandy colors. So I think I'll use another tab. I've got the raspberry tea tab, which would look good up at the top. And I can leave the French exposed, La Framboise. I had a girlfriend in public school, and I believe her mother's maiden name was Framboise. That's a little slippery on there, so I'm just going to let that have a chance to set up. And then I'll go in with some pink. Just a little piece of this note paper. I'm going to let that be up against the straight edge. just in a bit so I can get some ink on there. Actually, I will put it a little closer. And then strip of that purple. Oh, I got some good blue here for this. I don't know if it's the right tone. Yeah, that'll work. I'm going to use about half of that. And this is just out of magazine as well, I'm pretty sure. Maybe just want a bigger piece of the purple this time. And again, just because it's dark doesn't mean it can't benefit from a little ink. I still prefer the look of it inked, even when it's a dark color like that. Sometimes even more so when it's a dark color. Like I love a dark teal that's been inked. I just love that look. And here, this is out of the scrap box too. It's just a little bit of paper towel that's been coffee dyed. I'm going to put it down in this corner here. Just kind of ground it. Ground those colors. And then that's a seashell theme, so what will go well with seashells? Not a cat. Maybe a feather. Yeah, I think a feather. Ooh. Again, my feather frame comes off first, so let's see if we can piece it back together. I'm going to go down in this corner. I'll put a little piece of this map too. Not as colorful, but for some reason I just think it needs it. And then the raspberry tea, maybe just the word wish. Use that up. Actually, I wanted to move that, but I think I'm going to leave it where it was, like that. Very tactile. Ink it. Now that tea bag still has two little holes, so I could put some string through there and make a little tassel there too. Not going to do that right now. I want to keep going. So now I've got another bird, red breast, brown wings. It's a robin. So again, I think I can just use some map. And some blue. No, maybe not blue. Let's find some more natural looking colors. What's left on here? Just those, which I might use in a food theme. Let's see what we've got in this junk. This is stuff that probably should have just been thrown away. So this was off of, I think, a Cracker Barrel map. I think that's what it was. It's just got some good color. The red and orange and the brown. And then I'll use the other side where there's some addresses of places. I think it's locations of Cracker Barrel, actually. I just love the way that papers like that look when they're inked. When they're a little bit dull and they take the ink really well around the edges. I love that look. Oops, that's upside down. So to go along with a robin, maybe the feather, another feather or something. Let's see, I have another one with feathers. A couple of good ones with feathers here. I like the coloring on this one. I like the frames around them though. I'll keep that frame. See if I can get that back in there. And just a word that goes with it, hope. Robins give you hope when you first see the first one in the spring, don't they? It's more like a peacock feather, but it'll do. Maybe the robin is hoping that it could become a peacock someday. I like this one with the fringe. This is the one with a little doll and some flowers. So we got more pastel colors here. Can definitely use some of this pink. And maybe a little bit of this doily part. And some of the jewels. Keep it kind of pink and pretty. Maybe even a little pocket from the bottom of the tea bag pouch. That's going to be hard to, maybe if I just snip it, it'll get started. Yeah, that did the job. So this has given me a little tuck spot. I think I'll put it along the bottom and let it hang out the sides, or just take one of my decorative scissors and trim the sides. I just can't cut too far in, or I'll lose that crimping that creates the pocket. Give that some ink. I'll add some interesting texture at each side. So I'm going to do my little collage first. And maybe one of those keys. with a gemstone would be good as the main focal point. Pretty hard to glue up the back of a doily, so I just usually put some glue down and then place it into it. And then I'm going to ink this top edge and glue the whole back side of this down. It's a little glossy, so I want to make sure I use enough glue. I'll put that right across. I can still smell the raspberry tea. And in that little pocket, I will put at least one of these with the string attached. And let's see what we've got for, I have a key with a pink gem. I can put kind of this way. And what I could do is, actually, if I can get that up without too much damage, I'm going to move it up because I realize that key has a hole that I can use to make a little tassel on. I'm going to grab my pokey tool. Actually, my crocodile might do it. Let's just see. I know I said I wasn't going to do the fiddly stuff, but I want to do this one. Let's see if this will... Yep. The question is, though, will the grommet thingy work? I was going to use a pink one. That's why I opened up my big box here. I don't know if that'll reach. Yeah, it probably will. And maybe what I'll do is do it from the other side so that that shows on this side, and then you won't really notice this crumpled up thing on the sticker. Yeah, it sort of just disappears right into the key. Oop, that was my little tag. And maybe what I'll do is just make this look a little more important. Make it a little bigger by backing it onto something. So let's use the Tim Hortons stuff, and I'll just tear myself a little tag shape. In fact, let's just make that a little better. That's better. That was a little rough for what I was thinking. There, that's better. I don't know if that corner rounder will do this, but let's give it a try. It wants to squeeze the corrugations too much, I think, but it softened those edges a little bit for me. And I can leave these red stripes exposed and just glue this right down on top. Actually made it a little too skinny. Okay, let's make another one because I like that idea. I know I put one in here last night. Let's use this as a guide this time for the width. There, that's better. I'll still use that other one, I'll just use it somewhere else. And instead of trying to round those little bottom corners, I'm just going to nip them off. And I think I want to leave the French side exposed. So I'll glue down the English side. Just like that. And then I'm going to just cut a notch here for that string to keep it sort of centered there. And I'll just put a little bit of glue on it. Maybe I'll put a little flower over it or something. Oh, I know, a little pink heart. That works. And then just leave that old tea-stained string attached. Oops. So that one's a little more interactive and interesting. I love doing stuff like that. Almost done, folks. I'm getting there. I know this is probably a long crafting session, but it's getting me going. Okay, this one is dog themed, and we've got 3 different colors of dogs, so I'm just going to grab some kind of neutral papers. And you can use any kind of paper that you have. I'm even going to put a little piece of this Tim Hortons cup on there for some texture. Covering up the dog on this side. I guess he's peeking out of my collage here. And some more of those red letters and numbers. I think they're all letters, actually. So I hear people asking where to get supplies, and all of these supplies that I've been using, all this magazine paper, like that's pretty much free supplies, folks. Just go through your recycling before you send it out. Let's see, what goes good with a doggy, a cat? this kind of champion cup down here. That might need some extra glue. Let's pretend that those dogs on the front are all champions. And I think I don't want to do too much else up here because I don't want to cover the dog's head. Definitely want to give this some more ink on the front. It's very white. Oh, let's see here. Kind of want to cover that wording, but don't really need to. That's part of the map, but I'm using the other side. And if I had a word like champion or something like that would work. Dream. And just a frame without anything in it could even work, like that. I think I'm going to use this piece of, it's a sticker, but it looks like chain, and it's just the right length, just to give that a little something extra. And now we've got a kitty cat one. If I can find those kitty stickers that I had. So what color? We got turquoise and sort of a chartreuse yellow on the front. So I do have some bright yellow here. Not sure what this was. So let's use a piece of this. This is like the spine from a photo album that I took apart. And then we've got the turquoise, which, you know, I should have some turquoise. It's one of my favorite colors, but don't really have all that much. I'm just trying to use out of this one bin. I probably could find some turquoise if I wanted to. Let's do I Love Kitty, or just the paw prints maybe. Thinking of a small butterfly. Oh, there's the perfect one. bit of glitter, and it's got that aqua color. So that's something else. When you have your die cuts, whether they're printables or whatever, you could just coat them with some clear glitter. This was a die cut that I purchased and it was already coated with the glitter. But you can make your own if you have like a glitter glue that where the glue turns clear. That would be cool to do. And I think just another little pink heart. I find these gem stickers, the backing is like a silicone glue and it comes off. It sticks to my fingers pretty good, but it comes off of the metal. Or it's not metal, it's plastic. So some of these I like a little better than others. Just depends on what you have and what you're willing to look through to find the perfect thing. I find it's better to just craft, do it, get it done. You can go back and tweak it with some more bling later. Okay, what have I got here? Another pink Japanese lady. So I think I'm going to use this piece of this raspberry tea bag. And again, just give it a little snip to get it started, and then you can rip it. Ink that up. And this has got like a foil backing. So that's the other thing you could save these for, is for the foil side. Because it is the foil, I'm going to use the 3-in-1 glue to glue it down. And I could make another pocket, but I'm not going to this time. And then I've got another little skinny strip of this gemstone paper. A nice jagged edge. And then a piece of the pink lined paper will work. And I'll do that sort of here. And then what am I going to put on here? Another key or a bicycle or a butterfly? Maybe a butterfly this time. This one that's inside the heart is kind of nice. And then maybe a word, lovely. Lovely is a good word for this one. And then another little pink heart gem. And this one's got pink and purple. And my purple paper. Maybe some numbers. A catalog or an invoice. I can't remember what this was. Might have been an invoice from when I was buying beads. Pink. A little bit of pink, I think. Flowers, butterfly makes sense. And then, do I have a word? Enjoy or life? Just life. So how many of you have started to think about your playing cards since we started this video? I would love to trade with someone. If you're interested, just message me below or message me in Messenger. Judy Greer. And we can work out a trade. Either some plain cards or some decorated ones, or a little bit of both. I'm up for either. So we got here is a giraffe. I'm going to save that purple piece I just made. I'm going to get some blues here, because we've got turquoise tree trunks and turquoise spots on our giraffe. Teal, I would call it. Middle. See what I can find in that teal tone. Like I said, it's crazy because it's my favorite color ever, and I don't have any scraps of it sitting out here. But I know where I have some pretty handy off of a file folder. Hanging file. When the metal isn't holding them up anymore, I tend to recycle them into things like this. A little bit thicker paper, but that's okay. And what other color was on there? Oh, sort of an orangey coral color. So I could use some of this paper again. This will look really good against the teal. Leave that blue in between. And then for the focal point, let's see, still haven't used my bicycles. What would make the most sense here? Got a long skinny zipper and some keys and hourglass. Some interesting themes there. I think this, maybe the hourglass. Partway on the teal. I don't know why. And then this one is more of a, I guess it's probably the same color blue, but it looks different because of the combination. Can use that same paper again, maybe. Look at how dirty my fingers get when I'm inking and gluing. I did see someone say in a YouTube video that they used a hand cream called silicone glove when they're going to be inking and gluing, and it just makes it easier to clean your hands up. I haven't tried that. I'll have to try it. A bit of that red. I find that yellows and oranges look really good with teal. I like to use teal a lot in the fall. I've got some paper that's teal and it's embossed with pumpkins. It's just gorgeous. I'm almost ready to start fall stuff. Actually, I probably should be doing fall stuff now because I'm booking my videos into September soon. I think maybe, what is this? This is a draft. I think I'm going to do this long zipper with a bit of a steampunk look to it. Right up against the blue. It's got some copper on it. It's like the zipper for his collar. This one's an octopus. I don't have a lot of sea life themed things. I do want to do, I thought I wanted to do a mermaid journal at one point, but it's not a theme that really actively calls my name every day like dragonflies and butterflies do, and bees. Because we have the theme of the water, I'm going to use this blue, and I think I'm going to leave those notches in it. I think that's kind of interesting. And leave the square edges this time. And go right up the side here. I'll do some purple. I'd already inked this piece, didn't I? And then I discarded it. And let's do an under the sea gem. A lock. There, that's sharp. Something like a treasure chest lock deep under the sea. Look at my nail polish. Crazy what that ink does. And this is archival, so it won't just wash off. I'll have to take a swipe with acetone to get it off, and then re-top coat it. Pacific Undersea Gardens, Victoria, BC, Canada. Oh, these are the ones where I did the book page. So now that they're good and dry, all I'm going to do is go in and rip the paper off like this. And so then you get a very random bit of book page that's stuck to the card. It's kind of a waste of book page. Well, it's not a waste. It's a good way to use it, actually. So many of them. And then this can go in the book page scraps still, if it's got any life left in it. So you just leave some hanging off the edge so that you have something to grab and pull. And it's very wispy because it'll take off like layers of the paper. Leaves you very natural edges. And that all becomes more stuff you can use for this exact process. I'll just put it in my book page section of my stack. So then those ones are ready to decorate. And you don't really need to do so much collaging because you've already got an interesting background. So there's another one of those canoers. I think I'm going to do this one horizontally. And I will use this little native looking symbol and the feather. And I think I'll put the feather on top of something like maybe some, not lace, but maybe a little strip of fabric of some sort. Something that would go with the theme. I guess, oh, this red check will go with the theme for a Canadian canoe trip. Just a random piece that I cut off when I was cutting a ribbon. Up here. And I think I'll have it hanging off the edge at the top. And then this feather. I think I'm going to back it onto a piece of this paper bag handle. And then I'll tear the ends of it again. overlap the red and black buffalo check. And I think I'll add my little Tim Hortons cup tag. Or will I? It's a little bit too big for that one. Little piece of just some trees or greenery. And you don't even hardly see any of the background now, but I'm not really too crazy about that just yet. Let me see here, what else have we got? Stars. Shooting stars. So this one's gold and it has like jungle animals, sort of not embossed, but a pattern of jungle animals anyway. I don't think this needs much. Maybe an arrow. And this little floral square. And a little scroll. I think simple's better on that one. And you know what? I'm out of steam, folks. I really am. So I'm gonna lay these out so you can see them all. I'll do these ones in another video. Maybe I'll do a video where I show this process again and do some with you. But right now I'm ready to move on to something else, so I'm not gonna fight that at all. You have to know when to do that. So let me just set these out, and so I can take a picture and I can show you before we sign off. You're only going to get to see the one side, but that one's kind of special with the extra little pocket on it. That one's special with the tab on the top. So I hope you'll do some, and if you do, please go to Thistledew Creations Facebook group and share what you've made. And do contact me if you want to do some sort of a playing card trade. A dozen is a good number. I have traded full decks, all different cards, but like 52 cards with people before, and it can be done. It just costs a little more to mail it, that's all. So if you stick to 12 that'll fit in an envelope and not be too bulky, then you can just do it with a postage stamp. So let me know. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. But most of all, have a great day and happy crafting.